Welcome to this Conversations on Groong episode. Today we're talking with Hagop Djernazian in Jerusalem to get the latest update on the Armenian Quarters in Jerusalem, which has been under threat for a couple of years now. Welcome back, Hagop. Good to talk to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Asbed and Hovik, for always giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely. So just to catch up our listeners on the issues around the Armenian Quarters in Jerusalem, let me point listeners to our podcast episodes 261 and 292. The links are in the show notes, where we discuss the contract with which the Jerusalem Patriarchate reportedly granted a 98-year lease for Goveru Bardez, Cow's Garden, to some Israeli company. This is a considerable amount of space in the Armenian Quarters. So this shady Israeli company has been trying to illegally land grab a significant chunk of the Armenian Quarters. Anyway, Hagop, in May and June, you tweeted some updates to your legal case against Xana Gardens. This is the company. Can you give us an update about this? What's going on?
Yes, so it is important to say to those who listen to the podcast that we as a community, we have our own legal team, the local legal team and the international legal team. And we work with both of them very closely, and we take all the decisions following many consultations, because this issue is a very important issue and we should treat it as it is. We filed our lawsuit, the community lawsuit, and not the Patriarchate lawsuit. There are two different lawsuits in the Jerusalem District Court. One, which was filed by the Armenian Patriarchate of Jerusalem back in December 2023, and the community who filed another lawsuit to nullify the deal in February 2024. So the community lawsuit, which was filed a few months ago, is an important achievement for us as a community, because due to this lawsuit, we succeeded to make people take, and institutions take the community into consideration and make sure that the rights of the community are respected. So following the filing of the lawsuits, Xana Gardens tried to appeal to the court, to the Jerusalem District Court, a few times. So the court will dismiss our case. They asked twice to dismiss our case. The court rejected and ruled that the dismissal of the case will be decided only by the judge who will hear the case, which we don't know when will be the first hearing, because we still have preliminary proceedings. Second appeal of Xana was to ask for an extension by the Jerusalem District Court to answer our lawsuit. As a defendant, they should present their defense, and we rejected to grant them an extension, and also the judge rejected to grant them an extension, which was for us some good achievements, small, but it adds to the bigger picture. And last week on the 16th of June, Xana submitted their defense to the Jerusalem District Court in our lawsuit, arguing some arguments which our lawyers are still studying.
Hagop, can you tell us a little bit more about what the community case is that you are describing? And also, what was the basis on which Xana Gardens requested an extension and why it was denied?
Yes, of course. So there are two arguments presented by the community. The first argument is that the Patriarchate had no authority to sign this deal, and why, and especially specifically the Patriarch, and why? Because this deal violated the constitution of the Armenian Patriarchate of Jerusalem, which the same Patriarch and the same Brotherhood voted in favor of the current constitution back in 2015, 9 years ago. So we added to the lawsuit the constitution, the bylaws of the Patriarchate, and also we added to the lawsuit the letter which was written by 17 members of the St. James Brotherhood back in 2021, opposing the deal and demanding its cancellation, using it as a legal document and saying that most of the members of the Brotherhood had no idea and never heard and never saw the contract, and the deal was signed by the Patriarch, the former real estate director, Baret Yeretzian, and the current Grand Sacristan of the Patriarchate. So these three signed it without having the authority. This is the first argument. Second argument, which is another important argument, is that this land is registered as a WAKF land, which is a trust. Back in 1574, I think, Patriarch Antonius of the Armenian Patriarchate of Jerusalem purchased this land, part of the land, and he registered it as a WAKF. In Jerusalem and during the Ottoman Empire, many properties were registered as a WAKF, which is a trust land, and they are trustees and beneficiaries of the land. And the good thing in in Waqf properties that they cannot be sold or leased.
Interesting.
And even if we wish to sell it, or even if we wish to lease it, we should go and have the approval of the Jerusalem District Court, or the court in the country or the city, or the Shariaa court, which is the Islamic court here in Jerusalem. Not the Jerusalem District Court or the Shariaa court ever approved the cancellation of the Waqf, and we attached to the lawsuit two Waqf documents, trust documents. The first one of Patriarch Andreas and another one of a civil named Magardich, who both purchased parts of the land and registered it as a Waqf. And also they wrote in that Waqf document that the beneficiaries of this property are members of the Armenian Christian Community of Jerusalem, which we as beneficiaries never agreed for the leasing of this property. And this is the argument we are presenting in court.
Hagop, just for my edification, on one side there's the Jerusalem District Court.
Yes.
And what is the court of authority on the Sharia law side?
So the Sharia, yes, the Sharia court is entitled to the King of Jordan, but the Sharia courts are recognized by the State of Israel, and their decisions are recognized by the Court of Israel, by the courts in Israel, and also the Waqf laws from the Ottoman time are all recognized by the Israeli courts. And that's why we are presenting it in the Israeli court.
So where do you go from here? What are your expectations for next steps, and what's a timeline that we can look forward to?
So we are currently, so on the ground, I can tell you that the situation is calm and stable, and we continue to maintain presence on the ground. The boys and the community members continue to maintain presence. It's been more than 250 days that our community members are guarding the property. Recently, the situation is calm, and we are keeping it as it is in order to make sure that no one of the community members will get hurt or something will happen to him. But putting aside the current situation on the ground, we continue the work with the lawyers. The lawyers work daily. When I say daily, they work literally daily, because Xana tried and submitted an appeal to court daily to dismiss the case and ask for motions and ask for extensions, and the court rejected, and we had to answer to their appeals. So it cost us time, and that our lawyers had to answer them. So we continue to work with the legal team. I think the most important stage is now the legal proceedings. We will continue to strengthen our case. We will continue our work, but also I ask also from those who listen us that we need also the support of the diaspora, and we need the support of people who hear us and people who believe in our struggle. Because when we work with lawyers, we also pay for the local lawyers. It is important to mention that the international legal team, they all work pro bono. Karniker, Kunyan, Garo Azarian, Elizabeth Eldajani, Ani Nazarian, Arman Tatoyan, they all work for free pro bono because they believe in this case. But we also pay, and also Daniel Seidman, who is an Israeli attorney, who also works pro bono. But we have two other lawyers that work daily on the case, and here in Jerusalem, and we pay them. So if I may use this opportunity and call upon those who listen to us to donate or help us and support us financially, because at the end, supporting financially means also supporting the community and supporting the case. It's very important for everyone to speak about it, to advocate for it, but we also need the support of our communities all around the world.
Absolutely. So for all of our listeners, I'd like to amplify those thoughts right now. I have the links to your support page, Hagop, thank you, and I will put them under this video on YouTube as well as in our show notes. So for all of our listeners, please go to our show notes and click the link to support the Legal Defense Fund for Jerusalem Armenians. Thank you very much.
Hagop, as our last question, I wanted to understand how international relations, and that's a big, if we think about the big circle, international relations, and then Armenian-Israeli relations may affect the future of your case, or how do they affect the community in general? For instance, we know that Armenia recognized the state of Palestine recently. We're just wondering what the repercussions of that could be on the community itself.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to mention that Xana Gardens, few times by appealing to court accused us for being anti-Semite. We support anti-Semitism, and we have anti-Israel and anti-Jewish intentions. So they are arguing it in their defense, and they are arguing it in the appeals to court. I would like to make it very clear to people, because they are trying to drag us and they are trying to push us to that corner, that our dispute here is a legal dispute, and our dispute here is over a property which is owned by Armenians for hundreds of years. And this is our right to protect our presence and to protect our rights, and to oppose a deal that we don't see it a legal one, and we don't see it as a good one for the future of the Armenian presence in Jerusalem. So they are trying to take us to that corner of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel. They will use it in court, but we will reject it because it's not true. And they will also use the recognition of Armenia in the state of Palestine. We as a community, we don't have any official statement following the recognition of the state of Palestine. Armenia is an independent state with their very clear foreign policy, and Armenia is not the first and not the second country to recognize the state of Palestine. It's the 149, I think, or the seventh to do so. So it's not out of nowhere. They did it following many other countries. But we are not connecting the recognition of Palestine to our case. These are two different cases. The land dispute is a legal battle, which we will have in courts, and the recognition of Palestine is a pure decision by the Armenian government following the recent developments. Of course, it may affect the Armenians living in Jerusalem and Israel, because people see now, oh, Armenian recognize the state of Palestine, so we support anti-Semitism and we are anti-Israel, which it's wrong, absolutely wrong. This is a decision following international law. I mean, it's not something new. But unfortunately, there will be people that they will try to harm the communities by writing articles, anti-Semitic articles against us, which is happening in the past few months. So this, we know that it will happen, that many articles will be published against the community and against Armenians in general. Regarding the Armenian community of Jerusalem, we continue with our policy, we continue with our work, whether it's the community work, whether it's internal and foreign relations. We will continue to maintain good relations with everyone, with all those who live in the old city, with all those who live around us. And this is what we did for hundreds of years, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay, Hagop, let's leave it there for today. Thank you for your time. We want to stay in touch with you so that we can bring the latest about your community and all these updates to the rest of the Armenian world.
Thank you, Hagop.
Thank you very much for giving me once again the opportunity. Thank you, Hovik and Asbed. And Groong.
Thank you. That's our show today. This episode was recorded on June 23, 2024. We've been talking with Hagop Djernazian, who is an activist and lives in Jerusalem. He studies international relations and Middle East studies at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and is a founding organizer of the Save the ARQ movement. I'm Asbed Bedrossian.
And this is Hovik Manucharyan.
Please follow us on social media and follow us everywhere you get your Armenian news. The links are in the show notes. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.